Welcome to Countouts. In this lesson, we're going to be looking at the purchases journal and we're going to look at an example where we have to take into account VAT. Now, we have done the purchases journal before, but in that example, we did not take VAT into account because we were told that we should ignore VAT. So if you'd like to check that one out, and I would encourage you to check that one out before checking this one out. We'll go a bit faster with this one here. So if you've checked the other one out, this one will be pretty easy for you if you do not know what the purchases journal looks like. But we'll go through the exact same example we went through in the other one. It's just that we are taking into account VAT here. This is a journal used to record goods which can be written as merchandise, stock, or inventory that are purchased on credit or on account by the entity during the period. So it's very important that you know that the purchases journal records when we have purchased goods that we sell in our ordinary course of business, and these must be goods that are purchased on credit or on account, meaning when we buy it, we do not pay it at that same time, or we do not buy it on cash. We're only going to pay our suppliers later. So what you see on the purchases journal is what has been bought on credit and what we owe our suppliers or our creditors. It's important to also note that goods bought on cash or sold are not recorded in the purchases journal. So if you bought goods on cash, that does not go into the purchases journal. That goes into the cash payments journal. Now, we've done many other journals as well before. You'll find them in the links in the description below. What is the format for the purchases journal when we have to take into account VAT? Well, if you checked out the previous one, you'll notice that it's very similar, and here it is. Firstly, you put the name of the entity, and here we've given an example, Eldo's Flowers, and then you put the name of the journal. That's very important. You should not forget to put the name of your journal, and then you put the period for which the journal is prepared, and here we have December 2021. So you put the name of the entity or the name of the company and the name of the journal, as well as the period for which the journal is prepared. And then here you have a few columns. The first one you have is document number, sometimes written as invoice number. So yours might be invoice number or document number. That is all fine. And you will be given the document number for each transaction that you'll be going through. But sometimes you're not given the document or the invoice numbers. So what you can do in that instance is to write it in sequence, like 01 for the first one, 02 for the second one, and so on. And it will make much sense as we'll go through the example, what I'm explaining on the format of the purchases journal. And then the second column you have is the day, and obviously this is the day of the month that the transaction occurs. And then we have the creditor column. This is where you put the name of the creditor or the person from whom you bought stock or inventory on credit. Sometimes it's written details or creditors, so whichever one is fine for that column. And then the next column we have is folio, and like we've said in our other lessons on journals, this is a cross-reference code, and it is usually a number or a combination of numbers and letters, and it is mainly for connecting two different records. So this is showing you where else it is found in another record, or where it's taken to, or where it's coming from. But we'll leave this one out for now. And then what we have here is VAT input. Now this is where it's different from the one that we ignored VAT. We have to put VAT on this example that we'll be going through. So you'll have a VAT input column here. Now, why is it VAT input? Well, VAT input is VAT that we will claim back from the revenue authority. And if you think about it, whenever we are buying merchandise or inventory on credit from our suppliers, we will have to pay them for those goods or for those inventory, including VAT. So if we are going to pay them including VAT and we are registered VAT vendors, we'll go to the revenue authority and claim back this VAT. That's why it's called VAT input, and VAT input is an asset. If you'd like to understand more about VAT input and VAT output, we have done a lesson specifically on that. You'll find it in the link in the description below. And then the next column here we have is purchases or inventory. And like we explained in the previous one, how do we know whether we are using the word purchases or the word inventory? Well, if they tell you that the company is using the periodic inventory system, then you will put what is called purchases on this column. But if it's using what is called the perpetual inventory system, then you'll put inventory in this column. So that's the difference between the two. So it's very important that you pay attention to the details you are given, whether it's periodic or perpetual, and what you put on this column. And you'll see now as we go through our example. And then the last column you have is creditors control. So the creditors control column, you put the amount that you are owing your creditor. Remember, you owe your creditor the amount for the inventory or for the stock including VAT. Very important, it always includes VAT. But on this column here where you have purchases or inventory, it is excluding VAT. And obviously this column for VAT input, you just put the amount for the VAT. So let's go through the example and make sense of everything we've been explaining. Here is the example. We are told that the information given below was extracted from the records of Eldo's Flowers. VAT at 15% is included where applicable. Record them in the purchases journal for December 2021. The company uses a periodic inventory system. Now, they told us that VAT at 15% is included where applicable. That means all the amounts here includes VAT where it's applicable, of course. And obviously, when we are told such information that VAT is applicable at a specific percentage, then we know we have to take it into account. Sometimes we may be told that the company or the entity is registered as a VAT vendor. That is when you also have to take VAT into account. Right, we are also told that the company uses a periodic inventory system. So like we mentioned in the previous slide, if it's the periodic inventory system, the column where we have purchases or inventory, we will put purchases. If it was the perpetual inventory system, we would put inventory. All right, now that that's clear, let's go through our transactions. What you see here in red is the day of the month. Remember, this is December 2021, as we were told for which period we are preparing the purchases journals. What is in red here is the day of the month for December 2021. So let's begin with the first one. Remember, we are looking for transactions where we bought inventory or stock on credit or on account from our suppliers. So let's look at them. The first one says that Benny B, the owner, invested 30,000 Rand in the business, issued receipt 010. Does this go into the purchases journal? Of course not, because we're not purchasing inventory or merchandise here, so we'll leave that one out. And as usual, we'll highlight it in purple, whatever we are not going to include in our purchases journal, and what we're going to include after we've done it, we'll highlight it in black. So since the one on the first does not go into the purchases journal, let's highlight it in purple. And then on the 3rd of the month, we bought goods from Ego Capital by check, 2,500 Rand, check 02. Does this go into the purchases journal? No, it doesn't, because we bought it by check, meaning we paid cash for it. So since we paid cash and we didn't buy it on credit or on account, it does not go into the purchases journal. So again, we'll highlight that one in purple. And then on the 6th of the month, we bought merchandise from Zilla God on account, 10,000 Rand. Now, does this go into the purchases journal? Of course it does, because we bought the merchandise on account. That means we didn't pay for it right there and then. We took the goods and we'll pay Zilla God or our creditor at a later date. So now that we have the first transaction that we put in our purchases journal, you can see that it's on the 6th and we're not given the document number. So we'll put the sequence, we'll start with 01 for this first one. If we were given the document number or the invoice number, then we'll put it under the document number column. So let's put 01 and then put 06 as our day of the month. There we go, 01 and 06. Now we need to put the name of the creditor and put our amounts here. So let's go back. The name of the creditor here is Zilla God. So we're going to put that as the name. And then what we also need to put is the 10,000 Rand under the creditors control column. Remember, if we're given this amount and we are told that VAT is included where applicable and it's included here, we're going to put this under the creditors control column. So let's go and put the name of the creditor, Zilla God, and under the creditors control column, we put 10,000 Rand. Now we have to calculate the purchases amount and the VAT input amount. Very important, creditors control. Why did we put the full amount there? Because the full amount including VAT goes to the creditors control column, meaning all our creditor including VAT. But the purchases column, we have to put it excluding VAT, and we also have to calculate VAT and put it under this column here. So let's go ahead and do that. For us to calculate the VAT input, we take the 10,000 Rand, we multiply by the VAT percentage, and in our case we're told it's 15%, so multiply by 15 and divide by 115. Why divide by 115? Well, because 115 is the amount including VAT. It's the 100% excluding VAT plus the 15% VAT. So this is how it's going to look. 10,000 Rand times 15 divided by 115, and it gives us 1,304 Rand 35 cents. And that is what we put under the VAT input column. What do we put under the purchases column? Well, we're going to take the 10,000 Rand times 100% divided by 115, and it gives us 8,695 rand 65 cents. Alternatively, what you could have done, once you have your VAT input amount, you could have taken 10,000 minus 1,304 rand 35 cents, and it would give you the same 8,695 rand 65 cents. Now I hope it's making sense. Remember, amount excluding VAT is 100%, amount including VAT is 115%. That is why our denominator is 115%, because that's the amount that we are given, as we are told that VAT is included at 15%. Now, if you'd like to understand more on calculating VAT inclusive, VAT exclusive, we've done a lesson specifically on that. You'll also find it in the link in the description below, but it will make sense as we go along. So let's put our amount for VAT input in its column and the purchases in its column. There we go, and we've just completed the first transaction. So let's go back and highlight the one on the 6th in black, because it goes into our purchases journal. And then on the 9th, we sold inventory on credit to Jim James 500 rand. Does this go into our purchases journal? No, it doesn't, because we're not buying inventory on credit, we were selling the inventory on credit, so it doesn't go into our purchases journal. So we highlight that one in purple. And then on the 10th, we bought goods on credit from Ego Capital 3,000 rand. Does this go into our purchases journal? Yes, it does, because we're buying goods and we're buying the goods on credit, and the amount is 3,000 rand. Again, we're not given the document number, so we'll follow the sequence. We'll put 02 because the second transaction that goes into the purchases journal. And then the date is on the 10th, so let's go ahead and do that. The document number is 02 and the day is 10. And then we go back and we see the name of the creditor is Ego Capital, so we're going to put that as the name, and the amount is 3,000 rand, which we'll put under the creditors control column. So we'll put creditor Ego Capital, and under the creditors control column 3,000 rand. Now it's important for me to mention here that you must pay attention to your details. Here we're told VAT is included at 15%, and I know I'm repeating myself, but the reason I'm doing that is because sometimes you may be told that VAT is excluded in all the amounts. If VAT is excluded in all the amounts, then whatever amount you are given, you would not put under the creditors control column, you'd put it under the purchases column, and then you'd have to calculate your creditors control column and your VAT input column. So I hope that has made sense. If you're told that VAT is included, then you go ahead and put the full amount under the creditors control column. If they say that VAT is excluded for a specific transaction or for all the transactions, then you'd put the one which is excluded in this column here, and then you'd have to calculate your VAT inclusive and your VAT amount here. Alright, I hope it has made sense. Now we calculate our VAT input amount. Again, we take the 3,000 rand times 15%, because that's our VAT percentage, divided by 115, because this 3,000 is including VAT, and it gives us 391 rand 30 cents. What about the purchases amount? Well, it's going to be the 3,000 rand times 100 divided by 115, and it gives us 2,608 rand 70 cents. Let's put those amounts in our columns. There we go, and we've just completed the second one. So let's go back and highlight that one in black, because it goes into our purchases journal. Now what I'd like you to do here is to pause the video and attempt to do the rest of the transactions on your own, and then once you're done, you can come back and continue the lesson and compare your answers to mine. Trust me, you will understand it much better than someone who's just following along without attempting the rest of the questions on their own. So go ahead and do that. Okay, I hope you've attempted the rest of the transactions. So let's continue. On the 14th, inventory was sold for cash as per receipt 012 12,000 rand. This does not go into the purchases journal, and I hope you attempted it on your own and you noticed that, because we are selling inventory here, we're not purchasing inventory on credit. So let's highlight it in purple. And then on the 18th, we received goods together with credit invoice from Villacor 4,500 rand. Now, does this go into our purchases journal? Yes, it does, because we're told that we received goods together with the credit invoice. Whenever you are receiving a credit invoice, it means that you bought the goods on credit, because you are receiving a credit invoice here. So we're going to put it into the purchases journal. Again, the date is 18, and we're not given the document number, so we'll put the document number as 03 following the sequence, because it's our third one. So go ahead and do that. 03 as the document number, and it's day 18. And what is the name of the creditor? Well, let's go back, and you can see here it's Villacor. So, and the amount there is 4,500 rand that we'll put under the creditors control column. So we'll put Villacor as the creditor, and under the creditors control column, column, it's 4,500 Rand. Now let's calculate our VAT input and our purchases. Well, here's our VAT. It's 4,500 times 15 divided by 115. It gives us 586 Rand 96 cents. I hope it's getting easy as we go along. And then the purchases amount, it's the 4,500 Rand times 100 divided by 115. It gives us 3,913 Rand and 4 cents. So let's put them in our columns. Here we go, and then we go back and highlight it in black because it goes into the purchases journal. And then on the 23rd, we bought equipment from Chiltree by check 7,000 Rand. Does this go into the purchases journal? Of course not, because here we're buying equipment. So these are not merchandise or goods or stock that we're going to resell in our ordinary course of business. And again, we paid for it by check, so we didn't buy it on credit, so it doesn't go into the purchases journal. So let's highlight it in purple. And then the last one is on the 30th. We bought trading stock from Conking as per credit invoice 04, 2,600 Rand. Does this go into the purchases journal? Yes, it does, because we're told that it's as per the credit invoice. That means we bought it on credit and we're buying trading stock. So it happened on the 30th, and this time we're given the credit invoice number, which is 04. That is our document number. So we included this one here just to show you what it looks like when you're given the document number. So we're going to put our document number as 04, and our day is 30. So let's go ahead and do that. 04 30, and then go back and see who was our creditor. It's Conking. So let's go back and put Conking, and then the amount they were given is 2,600 Rand. Now let's calculate our VAT input. It's the 2,600 times 15 divided by 115, and gives us 339 Rand 13 cents. And our purchases amount is 2,600 times 100 divided by 115, and gives us 2,260 Rand 87 cents. So let's put them down and go back. And now that we've completed that one, let's highlight it in black. And as you can see, we've taken into account all the transactions that we were given, and we've just completed it. I hope it has made sense here. Now all we need to do is to go back to our purchases journal and total up our VAT column, our purchases column, and our creditors control column. And here we go. It gives us those amounts, and you have just completed your purchases journal. I hope it has made sense, and I hope you got it correctly, or you were able to pick up where you may have got it incorrectly if you attempted the question on your own. If you have gained value from this lesson, consider subscribing to our channel, like this video, share it to those you think it might help. We also provide one-on-one lessons at reasonable rates. To find out more or to get more details, you'll find the link to our website in the description below, as well as our email address where you can contact us to inquire further, and check out our other services on our website. Till next time, cheers.